For those with the visual disability, they may be able to be communicated with in Braille, and that means all your handouts will need to be converted in advance. They may use a screen reader. I have found most of the people I've interviewed use JAWS. That is the brand of screen reader. There's another one that's NVDA that people are using. So they will listen to the screen reader telling them what is on the printed page. And these devices work properly if you have composed the document and annotated it properly. And that's where the difficulty lies. Many of you do not know how to make an accessible document out of Word or out of PowerPoint so that when you do send it to someone who is blind, that their screen reader will be able to read it to them aloud so that you've communicated to them. So I have 6 different headings right now. We're going to go through each one of them. And maybe you are familiar with how your images have to be alt text. This happens in your documentation and your PowerPoint and on your websites to make them accessible. And then when you're using links on your website or your documents, how to make them more meaningful to click over to a browser. And then what size font is large print and what color contrast goes best for someone with visual impairment? And then should the text be justified over to the left or to the right or in the center? And what about headings on a document? And what do you do to find the information on Word to validate that your document is accessible? Is there a tool in Word to do that? So I'm hoping that some of you have some experience with this. So take a look at this alt text. Has anyone experienced this before where you have to put on the screen or in your website that description of the image? So in this case, if the image was these red sneakers, the alt text would be a picture of red sneakers. That way, when the screen reader is reading about the image that you have in your document, the person who is blind hears picture with the red sneakers, and then they know what that visual image is. So that's kind of important to them. The alt text ensures also that search engines can see the images. So when you're using images on your website, alt text them so that your search engines will work better to find things. Here's another example. In the large picture, we have 4 students with their instructor together viewing an electronic circuit experiment. That's what you would type on the alt text. You wouldn't just say, picture of 4 students and a man. That wouldn't describe what that picture is. The essence of that picture is that one is the instructor, 4 are the students, and what are they looking at? Now, on the left, those are very simple images. So the examples are very clear. If I had a picture of my cat, Kiko, she's a little orange kitten, and that's what I would put as the alt text. So those are some descriptive examples of how you can do that in PowerPoint websites and some of your printed material that have images. On meaningful links, this is a good example here where we're talking about some, maybe it's a university and the services website page is there. It's clearly identified as to where that link goes and it's underlined. Many people forget to underline the meaningful link and to describe it in more detail. That helps the screen reader to understand where it's going. Here are some non-meaningful links, so don't use these. You look at your website and see, does it say learn more, read more, click here? Get more descriptive when you're writing the meaning for these links so that people know what it is it's going to. All right, you can see this one for yourself. For those who are not colorblind, and I'm not assuming anything, some of you may be colorblind. The color combinations with high visibility are the black on yellow. Whenever I'm writing copy for promotional material, I don't use white lettering on black background. The contrast is not as readable as having black lettering on white background. And you can see there's some vibration in some of the color combinations, some low visibility in some of the others. Now, the point about what is large text? If you've gone to the library, there are books with large print. Usually they're 18 to 20 points. If so, if somebody in your audience says, would you ask the speaker if they've got a handout to put it in large print? That's very simple for you to go to Word and set that up from the beginning so that the large print is automatic on your document. You can also convert it. The minimum size is a 14 point, but if they want large print, go bigger. The other recommendation is don't use all caps. The problem with that is the screen reader reads it one letter at a time. And so it doesn't read it as a word. It reads it as it's spelled out, ALLCAPS, rather than saying all caps. The sans serif fonts are illustrated here, the ones without the little extension. And everyone has told me they like the Arial, Calibri, and Verdana as really readable fonts. So those would be the fonts of choice and the font size and color of choice. Don't use word art. These screen readers can't read them. So use regular fonts. That's better. Left justification is better than any of the others. I'm hoping that you know how to do that on your word processor so that everything is left aligned. It is very easy for the screen readers then to read that back to the person who is blind. Here's how you do the headings. Step 1, go to the home. And you can click that down, and you can then click on styles in that menu bar. Then you click on heading. Then you go to your document with your cursor, and you're going to see that little black triangle there that shows up, indicating you have styled this with headings. That helps them with their screen reader so that they can skim a document by reading the headings and knowing what's coming up later. So they really appreciate it as you use headings in any of your documents. And this is how Word will help you to do that automatically. Now, on validating accessibility, Microsoft did a wonderful thing. Just go to your Microsoft Word and go to the Tools menu up at the top. Go down to the menu bar, and you can see that it's highlighted Check Accessibility. How simple is that? Tools, Check Accessibility. So do that on one of your Word documents tonight. Open a document, click on Tools, Check Accessibility, and watch the accessibility checker box come up. And it'll start telling you what the errors are and how to correct it. It's real time, so it'll show what's not accessible instantly. PowerPoint has the same mechanism. They have templates that are automatically accessible. So if you want to play around with that, you can always search on accessible templates in Word or in PowerPoint and start playing around with that, where you have alt text available for all your pictures.